Donald Trump was in court yesterday, watching his lawyers take tough questions from an appeals court over Trump's claim of presidential immunity from charges that he tried to overturn the 2020 election.
It's easy to forget these prosecutions of Donald Trump are historic in nature. No former president has ever been charged with crimes after leaving office. And Tuesday, a critical hearing sought to address the question of whether a president has unlimited immunity while in office.
Trump just got absolutely crushed by federal appeals court, and what they said is going to change everything. I'm not exaggerating. This isn't some procedural victory that gets reversed next week. This is three-judge panel looking at Trump's entire legal theory about presidential immunity and saying, no, you're wrong, you don't get special protection, you have to face consequences like everyone else. They didn't just reject his argument, they obliterated it. Wrote 57-page decision that basically calls Trump's immunity claims dangerous to democracy itself. And the language they used is devastating. They said Trump is now just citizen Trump. Not President Trump with all these protections. Not commander-in-chief who can do whatever he wants. Just regular citizen who has to answer for his actions in court like any other American. But real quick, before we get into this, let's be honest. You can't really trust mainstream media anymore. That's why we built National Brief Network to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, please subscribe because you might think you are but aren't. Your subscription actually matters here. Alright, let's get into what actually happened because this court hearing was wild. Trump's lawyers were standing in front of judges arguing that presidents have absolute immunity from criminal prosecution for anything they do while in office. And I mean anything. Judge asked them point blank, could President order SEAL Team 6 to assassinate political rival and still be immune? And Trump's lawyer actually said yes, as long as President wasn't impeached first. Let that sink in. Trump's legal team stood in federal court and argued that President could literally order murder of opponent and face zero legal consequences unless Congress impeached him. Share this video with everyone you know because Judge wasn't having it. Refused to let that answer slide. Asked again, yes or no question, could President who ordered assassination but wasn't impeached be subject to criminal prosecution? And Trump's lawyer kept trying to dodge. Kept saying, well, if he was impeached and convicted first. Judge kept pushing. What if he wasn't impeached? What if he resigned before impeachment? What then? And Trump's lawyer basically had to admit that under his theory, President could commit murder and walk away free. Prosecutor jumped on that immediately, said what kind of world are we living in if President orders SEAL Team to assassinate rival and resigns before impeachment, not criminal act. President sells pardon and resigns, not crime. Called it extraordinarily frightening future, and judges agreed. They looked at Trump's argument that presidents need complete immunity to function and said absolutely not. That's not how America works. Never has been. Think about what that means. Court wrote in their decision that Trump was claiming unbounded authority to commit crimes that would neutralize most fundamental check on executive power, the recognition and implementation of election results. They're accusing Trump of trying to use immunity claims to destroy democracy, to make it impossible to hold president accountable for overturning elections. That's massive accusation coming from federal judges. And then they dropped line that's going to haunt Trump forever. Said for purpose of this criminal case, former President Trump has become citizen Trump with all defenses of any other criminal defendant. That's it. Whatever special shield he thought he had is gone. Whatever protection he believed came with office has evaporated. He's just Guy now. Guy who has to go to court and face charges like any other American accused of breaking law. Make sure you're subscribed to National Brief Network because Trump is freaking out about this. Jumped on social media screaming in all caps that without complete immunity, President of United States would not be able to properly function. Those are his exact words. Complete immunity. Not some immunity. Not reasonable immunity for official acts. Complete immunity for everything. He's essentially arguing that presidents should be allowed to commit any crime they want without any consequences whatsoever, and that's only way office can work. Court looked at that argument and said no, that's not how America works. Never been how America works. And betting markets are going crazy over this ruling. Right now, prediction markets have Trump's impeachment odds for current term climbing to around 57%. That means people betting real money on political outcomes think there's better than coin flip chance that Trump gets impeached again before term is over. And that number probably going to keep climbing now that this ruling established that courts don't buy his immunity defense. If Democrats take back House in 2026, and polling suggests that's increasingly possible, they're going to have this ruling in their back pocket as judicial validation that Trump is not above law and can be held accountable. This is a story that's going to define everything in American politics over next 2 years. Federal appeals court unanimously declaring that Trump is just regular citizen when it comes to criminal liability. Trump himself freaking out on social media, demanding complete immunity from all prosecution. Impeachment odds rising every day as his legal walls close in. And midterm elections coming up that will determine whether Trump's allies can continue protecting him or whether accountability finally becomes possible. Now let me walk you through what Trump has been arguing and why courts keep destroying it. Trump's lawyers have consistently maintained that presidents enjoy absolute immunity from criminal prosecution for anything they do while in office. During oral arguments, his legal team was asked whether president could order assassination of political rival and still be immune. They said yes, actually stood in front of federal judges and argued that president could literally have someone murdered and face no legal consequences as long as they did it while holding office. That's position Trump has been pushing, and courts have been systematically destroying it piece by piece. This DC Circuit ruling is most comprehensive rejection of Trump's immunity claims we've seen yet. Language judges use tells you exactly how seriously they take threat his arguments pose to American democracy. They wrote 57-page opinion that goes through every single argument Trump's lawyers made and demolishes each one with devastating precision. Share this with everyone because core of their reasoning is simple but profound. Accepting Trump's immunity claims would mean that president could commit any crime to stay in power and never face consequences. That would make presidency not just powerful, but completely untouchable, would transform office into something closer to elected dictatorship where person in charge can do whatever they want without any checks or balances. Judges specifically focused on what Trump did after losing 2020 election and why none of that conduct deserves immunity protection. They pointed to his efforts to pressure state officials to change vote counts, pointed to fake elector scheme where Trump allies tried to submit fraudulent certificates claiming Trump won states he actually lost, pointed to his role in events leading up to January 6th, and they said none of this, absolutely none of it, falls within scope of legitimate presidential duties that might deserve some form of protection. This wasn't Trump doing his job as president, this was Trump trying to steal election he lost. And Constitution doesn't protect that no matter how much he wishes it did. Now there's been confusion about how this ruling fits with Supreme Court decision on immunity, because Supreme Court did issue their own ruling that was actually pretty favorable to Trump in some ways. They said presidents do have presumptive immunity for official acts taken as part of their core constitutional duties. Critics went ballistic over that decision. ACLU put out statements saying Supreme Court had placed presidents above law. Legal scholars called it one of most dangerous rulings in American history, and there's legitimate reason to be concerned about how broadly future presidents might try to stretch that protection. But here's the thing that gets lost. Even Supreme Court ruling has limits. It protects official acts but doesn't protect unofficial acts or purely political conduct. And that's exactly what DC Circuit was talking about when they called Trump just citizen. Trying to overturn election isn't official presidential act. Pressuring state officials to find votes isn't part of president's constitutional duties. Organizing fake electors isn't something Constitution empowers presidents to do. All of that falls outside protection zone even under more favorable Supreme Court standard. Think about what that means. So when prosecutors go after Trump for his post-2020 conduct, they can point to both rulings and say, look, courts agree this stuff isn't protected. He's just citizen Trump when it comes to these charges. Trump's reaction to this ruling tells you everything about how worried he actually is. Went on social media posting in all caps about how presidents need complete immunity to function. Think about what he's really saying. He's not arguing that he didn't do things he's accused of, not claiming charges are false. He's saying that even if he did all of it, he should be immune from prosecution because he was president at time. That's remarkable admission when you think about it. He's essentially conceding that conduct happened and arguing purely that office should protect him from consequences. Courts have now told him multiple times that's not how it works. Political implications are massive. Trump has been telling Republicans for months that if they lose Congress, he's going to get impeached. He stood up at retreat on January 6th of this year, anniversary of January 6th, which you really cannot make up, and told his allies that losing midterms means impeachment. He knows what's coming if Democrats take back House. And now this ruling gives Democrats exactly what they need to make that case even stronger. Here's the thing about impeachment. It's fundamentally political process, not legal one. House can impeach president for pretty much any reason if they have votes. But politically, it helps to have judicial backing for argument that president did something wrong. That's what this ruling provides. Democrats can now stand up and say we're not just making political accusations here. Federal judges unanimously agreed that Trump has no immunity for what he did. Federal judges said he's just citizen Trump who has to answer for his conduct like everyone else. If we impeach him, we're doing exactly what court said is appropriate, holding president accountable for actions that don't deserve protection. Betting markets are reflecting this shift in really dramatic ways. Impeachment odds for Trump's current term have climbed to around 57% on major prediction platforms. That means people putting real money on political outcomes think there's better than even chance Trump faces another impeachment before term ends. And those odds probably going to keep rising as his legal troubles pile up and midterms get closer. If Democrats flip House and current polling shows that's real possibility, not just wishful thinking, then impeachment goes from unlikely to almost certain. Trump knows this, which is why he's been so desperate to convince Republicans they have to win at all costs. But here's what makes this situation even more dangerous for Trump going forward. It's not just Democrats he needs to worry about anymore. There are Republicans who are quietly furious about how much legal exposure Trump has created for himself and party. They can't say it publicly because Trump's base would end their careers. But behind closed doors, there are serious conversations happening about whether Trump is becoming too much of liability. If midterms go badly and Republicans lose House, some of those quiet critics might start speaking up. And if Trump's legal situation keeps deteriorating, you could even see some Republicans voting for impeachment. Not because they suddenly grew principles, but because they're looking for exit ramp from Trump era and this gives them way out. Fundamental question this ruling forces everyone to confront is whether American presidency is office with accountability or whether it's become something closer to elected monarchy. Trump has been arguing for years that presidents should be completely immune from prosecution for anything they do while in office. Courts have now firmly rejected that view. They've said that when it comes to criminal liability, Trump is just citizen like everyone else. Doesn't get special treatment, doesn't get force field that protects him from consequences, has to answer for his actions just like any other American would. That's a profound statement about nature of presidential power, and it's going to shape American politics for years to come. Regardless of what happens to Trump specifically, next few months are going to be absolutely critical in determining how this all plays out. Trump is going to keep fighting in court trying to delay everything until he can run out clock. His lawyers are going to file motion after motion attempting to slow down any prosecution. Meanwhile, prosecutors are going to push forward trying to hold him accountable while political window remains open. And voters are going to be watching all of this as they decide whether to keep Republicans in control of Congress or hand power back to Democrats who have made clear they want to hold Trump accountable. Everything is connected, and this ruling just made all of those connections stronger. Let me explain what this means practically for Trump's legal situation going forward. Courts can issue rulings all day long saying Trump doesn't have immunity. Judges can write 57-page opinions explaining exactly why his arguments fail. None of that matters if nobody has political power to actually hold him accountable. That's why 2026 midterms have become most important elections of our lifetimes. If Republicans maintain control of Congress, they're going to do everything humanly possible to shield Trump from accountability, no matter what any court says. You'd have House of Representatives controlled by people who actually want to investigate Trump and hold him accountable for his actions. You'd have subpoena power in hands of Democrats who could force testimony and documents that Republicans have been blocking. And yes, you'd have very real possibility of impeachment articles being drafted and voted on with enough support to actually pass. Trump knows this, which is exactly why he told Republicans they need to win or he's getting impeached. He wasn't being dramatic, he was stating obvious truth about his situation. Language court used in this ruling is going to echo through every political campaign between now and November 2026. Citizen Trump. That phrase is going to show up in campaign ads and debate stages and town halls across country. Democrats are going to hammer it constantly because it perfectly captures their argument. Trump isn't special, isn't above law, he's just citizen who has to answer for what he did. Republicans are going to have to figure out how to respond to that message while defending president whose own lawyers admitted in court that presidents should be able to commit crimes without consequences. That's a tough position to defend, and it's only going to get harder as more rulings come down. And look, I want to be completely honest about something important. There's narrative forming right now that this ruling signals end of Trump's grip on power, and that accountability is finally coming. Maybe that's true. Maybe this is beginning of end, and history will remember this moment as when things finally started to change. But we've been here before, haven't we? We've had moments where it looked like Trump was finally going to face consequences, and somehow he always manages to slip away and survive another day. Man has more political lives than cat has regular ones. So I'm not going to sit here and promise you that this is definitely it and Trump is finally done, because that prediction has burned too many people too many times. What I will tell you is that this ruling matters in ways that are genuinely hard to overstate. It matters because it establishes legal precedent that will bind future courts. It matters because it gives Democrats powerful ammunition heading into crucial midterm elections. It matters because it forces Republicans to defend increasingly indefensible position. And it matters because it answers fundamental question about American democracy. No president, not even Donald Trump, is above law. Courts have spoken. Now, question is whether political system will actually follow through on accountability, or whether Trump will once again escape consequences. Walls are closing in from every direction. Legal challenges piling up, impeachment odds rising, courts stripping away his immunity claims one by one, and Trump himself is so worried that he's openly predicting his own impeachment if Republicans lose Congress. That tells you everything you need to know about where this is heading. Bottom line is this. Federal appeals court just demolished Trump's immunity claims. 3 judges unanimously said Trump has no special protection from criminal prosecution, called him Citizen Trump, not President Trump, rejected his argument that presidents need complete immunity to function, said his claims were dangerous to democracy, wrote 57-page opinion explaining exactly why he's wrong. Trump's lawyer admitted in court that under their theory, president could order assassination and face no consequences unless impeached. Judges called that extraordinarily frightening, said accepting Trump's immunity claims would make presidency untouchable, would transform office into elected dictatorship. Court specifically said Trump's efforts to overturn 2020 election don't deserve immunity protection. That pressuring state officials and organizing fake electors and everything leading to January 6th falls outside scope of legitimate presidential duties. This wasn't doing his job. This was trying to steal election. Trump freaking out on social media, posting in all caps demanding complete immunity, essentially admitting conduct happened but arguing office should protect him. Courts saying no, that's not how America works. Impeachment odds climbing to 57%. People betting real money think Trump gets impeached before term ends. Democrats will use this ruling as judicial validation that Trump not above law. Will say we're doing what courts said is appropriate. Republicans facing tough position defending president whose lawyers admitted presidents should be able to commit crimes. 2026 midterms now most critical elections. If Democrats win, House impeachment becomes almost certain. If Republicans hold Congress, they'll shield Trump from everything. But legal walls closing in, multiple rulings stripping away immunity, pattern establishing that Trump has to answer for his actions like any citizen. This ruling matters because it establishes precedent, because it gives Democrats ammunition, because it forces fundamental question about presidential accountability. Courts have said no president is above law. Now we see if political system follows through. Trump worried enough to openly predict his own impeachment. That tells you where this is heading. Walls closing in, consequences coming. Whether Trump escapes again or finally faces accountability depends on what voters decide in 2026. This story continues. Stay tuned.